Hello, everybody. Mark Schaftlein with you, and this is the Schaftlein Report. It's Thursday's edition. We're broadcasting bi-coastal today from Southern California and from Long Island, New York. Jeffrey, happy to have you back. Happy Thursday to you.
Happy Thursday back to you.
Yeah, listen, audio only today because I'm not able to be at the studio. But anyhow, you'll carry the video for us today, Jeffrey, as you always do.
You want me to dance?
Yeah, I'll sing, dance, keep the folks entertained. It's a lot of
fun. I used to be an opera singer.
I did know that. It's amazing. So, you never lose the tone as the ages go by.
I'm telling you.
Hey, listen, we got some really, I'll say from a Republican perspective, some good news over the past 48 hours.
And also from a perspective of somebody who just enjoys following politics.
Exactly right. I mean, listen, I wanted to start in Arizona, but I'm going to defer to what everybody is talking about, and that's that John Fetterman debate performance in Pennsylvania. Jeffrey, it was reminiscent of the warning signs we all saw when we knew that Joe Biden didn't have the mental capacity to be president. They hit him in the basement, and look what we got. This time, it's different, though. Fetterman was on full display, not only to the people of Pennsylvania, but to the rest of the country. And Jeffrey, to say the performance left something to be desired would be an understatement. Give me your perspective on what you saw and the reaction of people you spoke to.
If I was part of the Pennsylvania Democratic Party, I'd be so angry because he had the stroke 2 weeks before the primary.
Right.
And if he dropped out, they'd have a candidate who may not have policies that I like, but at least would be able to speak and things like that. I'm not saying he's lost his ability to think, but you got to remember the Senate is a debate medium. I mean, if he can't talk, he can't debate. And if he can't debate, you can't be in the Senate.
Right. Yeah, no, it was atrocious. And it was an embarrassment not only to the Democratic Party, but it was an embarrassment to the people of Pennsylvania that to have a candidate like this. And even the left-wing media, Jeffrey, which is shocking, even called him out. Now, there were some radical left-wing media that defended his position. Some publication even said he won the debate. It was shocking. But he couldn't even respond. I mean, good night to open the debate, ask questions why he should be in the Senate, couldn't answer them. His position on fracking was a flip-flop of the most egregious method.
Oh, no, it was a flip-flop. He couldn't answer the question.
Right.
He kept answering, I support fracking.
Right. Yeah, he couldn't answer it. So,
and it was a flip-flop because he used to say, let's stop fracking.
Yeah. It really was. And look, I don't, this race is very tight. According to some polls, Fetterman had a lead going into that debate. Others showed it tied. One poll had Oz up by a couple points. Jeffrey, after that debate performance, I would expect Oz to win this race. I mean,
if he doesn't, there's something wrong with people in Pennsylvania.
I totally agree.
Maybe there's drugs in the cheesesteak, but something wrong.
Right.
But I'll tell you something. You mentioned the fact that, he had a stroke, and you start off by talking about Biden. In the last week, Biden has shown his dementia more than ever before.
He has.
Well, he was asked about, does his wife support him running for president again? And he stared off in space until the questioner asked him again and said, Mr. President, like he wasn't there.
Yeah.
He got the name of the French premier wrong. He celebrated happy birthday to President Harris. When they did the ceremony for the groundskeeper of the White House, you see him walking off and turning to the person walking with him and goes, which way do I go?
Right. It's really bad. And it's not right wingers making this. This is, they're like saying, well, you can't trust your own eyes. Yes, we can trust our own eyes. And what we see with the president is shocking. But Fetterman was worse. I mean,
yeah, but just as somebody who lost 3 family members through dementia. I really feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah.
Not even because he's the president. And it's so sad that they let him go on like that.
It's interesting that the Democratic Party chose a strategy of hiding Biden in the basement and getting him elected. And now they tried the same thing. There were actually Democratic operatives that were blasting the Democratic Party for putting him out there in the debate for everybody to see it, rather than hiding him and going ahead with the election, fooling the people of Pennsylvania that not even know. I mean, look, one thing about politics, you can agree or disagree, you can debate, but to hide something like that from the voters, disclose everything and let the voters make a decision. After seeing that, if the voters of Pennsylvania choose to elect Fetterman as their United States Senate, well, our side can't say you weren't warned, because it has been, put out there in the open. I think Oz
will be a lot of wind going across the country now, though. All the flip-flops create wind.
Yeah. No question about it. Well, we'll see how the polling shows up in that race, but it's crystal clear to me Fetterman is not qualified to be a United States Senator, and Oz should win that race. Let me move on out west. Kelly and Masters are now tied in Arizona. I mean, Blake Masters is a heck of a good candidate,
right?
And Kelly, he's an automatic vote for Schumer, Pelosi, Sanders, and Warren. I mean, Kelly came out with a comment, Jeffrey, this week. He said, listen, even Arizonans are sick and tired of Biden's border policies. And
well, you know why he said that?
Of course he said, because he's a Democrat and he's trying to get people to vote for him.
Because it's 2 weeks before the election.
Exactly.
And the thing is that Arizona, everybody talks about Texas. Arizona is one of the states that are very affected by the
second most. Arizona state has the second most number of illegal immigrants coming across the border behind Texas. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't voted for any policies that would help enforce the border. He's basically been a stooge for the Democratic Party and their open border policies. And people of Arizona, I think he's correct on that. They're sick of these Biden border policies. I mean, who in their right mind could advocate for an open border?
Actually, one of his leftist policies I can understand. I mean, he's very anti-Second Amendment. And his wife got almost shot to death. I'll grant him that one.
Right. No, there are certain things, certain core convictions that people have, and that's one of his. But the border,
it's ridiculous.
It is totally ridiculous.
And he should ship them to another state, but that's not popular.
I think Blake Masters is a young guy who exemplifies what Arizonans want. He's a brilliant guy.
He's a good speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he's honest. He means what he says.
He is honest, and he will represent the people of Arizona if given the chance. And I'm really optimistic that Blake Masters can come through and win that race, Jeffrey. It would be exceptionally good night for Republicans if that's
absolutely. But the best thing in my mind that I want to see election night, Zeldin kick butt in the
he did. Oh yes, he did. And he's getting accolades from all across the country for it too.
Well, because he from the very beginning he's been talking crime.
Yep.
And in New York, that's the biggest problem right now.
Oh, no question.
For another 3 weeks, because once it starts getting cold and we run out of heating oil, then it's going to be another problem.
Yeah, speaking of crime in New York, I can skip down. My God, what happened? What was the story with a gunman hijacked a tourist bus in New York City, crashed it, and they arrested the guy? What happened there, Jeffrey?
Well, that's exactly what happened. I mean, nobody's afraid to commit crimes in New York anymore. And not because the police aren't doing the job. It's that they cut the police. They put rules, I call them rules of engagement, but rules of what they can do that are restrictive so they can't do their job right. And you have those they're not new anymore, bail laws. That if you bring them in, they get out right away. which is stupid.
Yeah.
And actually, I talking about Zeldin. That's the one thing he said. His first action on his first day will be because governors can fire DAs in New York.
Right.
Going to fire the New York City DA.
As he should. It's people don't want to visit New York. They don't want to be there. It's just terrible, the crime happening in New York City. So I'm really pulling for him. I hope he can eke out a win there. Speaking of governors, Brian Kemp's up 10 over Stacey Abrams. Do you think if she loses by double digits, she'll admit defeat this time, Jeffrey?
She still hasn't admitted defeat last time. She is right now saying that the old Georgia law that was passed last year is restricts voting. They have the biggest turnout for early voting in history.
Yep, they sure do.
So how is it restricting? Because
it's another Democratic lie, and it's all coming home to roost for them. Speaking of Georgia, we've had two polls that you and I trust as pollsters. Trafalgar Group has Herschel Walker up 2 points in Georgia, and even more astonishing, Rasmussen has him up 5. Now, I don't know whether being up 2 to 5 points will translate into an election night win for Walker, because again, in Georgia, you have to hit 50%. And there's another candidate in the race that's drawing some percentage of votes. I would hope Herschel could hit 50%. If he does, there will be no runoff. But if he does not and still beats Warnock, there will be a runoff. But someone's got to hit 50%, or there will be a runoff in Georgia.
But do you think the latest revelations about the new girl that he forced to
No,
have?
I'll have zero effect. It's more mudslinging. At this point, let me ask you this question. Do you really give a rat's ass about what someone did in 1993, 29 years ago? I don't care whether it's true or not. To me, it's
ask me if I
irrelevant.
remember 1993.
It's really pretty crazy. I mean, literally, to answer your question, no, I don't think it has any effect at all, because Democrats are doing what they always do. They always say they're for African Americans, but whenever there's a conservative African American man running, they trash him. And that's just
the other thing is that, and it's the same thing with the Jewish vote. It's like, screw them. Whatever we do, they're going to vote for us anyway.
I think that's changing, Jeffrey. We saw.
Well, I think we see it today. I mean, these days.
Yeah, we do see it. Yeah. So with Kemp up 10, Walker up 2 to 5, I'm hopefully Herschel can hit the 50% mark. Bud's up 4 over Beasley in North Carolina. That race has been consistently 2 to 4 points. And getting back to your point, Jeffrey, this is a key statistic. I hate using statistics, but this is really important. 21% of Black voters now support Republicans. Donald Trump in the 2020 election won 12.
That was a big jump.
That's a huge jump, 12 to 21.
No, I'm talking about Trump's 12.
Yeah, it was 9 in the previous election. It's gone from 9 to 12. Now we're at 21. Hispanics are supporting Republicans at a tune of 40%. That's up from 32 when Trump won. And a lot of people are saying, well, why is this happening? And it's real simple. Democrats are embracing what I call the transgenderism, where the most radical stuff related to our kids. They support criminals instead of victims. They have no answer on inflation. And what a lot of people are saying is the Democratic Party, and the best example of those Twitter trolls, they're the party of division and hate, because they do not tolerate anything other than that far left-wing radicalism. And a good example of this stuff on transgenderism and their support of gay community, the State Department apparently spent money in Ecuador on 13 flag shows. This just came out today. I mean, with all the problems we have in this country, the Biden administration spending money, on drag shows in Ecuador, I say enough is enough already.
Well, how long have I been saying the only important message in the election is everybody wants food on the table, their family's safe, and being able to drive to work?
Yep, you've been consistent. Absolutely.
And that's what they're not doing, and the funny thing is when they say, "Oh my God, look at the movement of the African Americans." Do you remember when California passed the anti-gay rights bill
Yes.
in 2008 or 2012?
Goes back a ways. We'll call it
But
10,
you
12
know
years.
why? Do you know why it passed? Because the black vote, the black vote, very religious blacks voted for it. They didn't want it. They wanted a part of California law.
Yep.
And the thing is that people think that a certain people or all people all vote the same. It's like when Biden said, "Well, if you don't vote for me, you're not black."
Right. Right. Exactly right. It's like they assumed this gender identity politics, gender, race, sexual preference. They always lump everybody into the same group, and it's just wrong. I mean, the big problem the Democratic Party has, Jeffrey, is their ideas on abortion, gun control, and climate are not popular with the electorate. Sure, like the far left wing radicals want abortion up to the moment of birth, some post birth.
Well, I think that it should be okay when a kid's a teenager.
Again, it's just policies that the American people don't support. Look,
Right.
are people for clean climate? Absolutely. But do they want to pay $6, $7 a gallon for gasoline when every other country on the planet is, doing everything they can to support their energy policies through gas, renewables, oil, nuclear? No, people
But
are.
you know what bugs me? Every time that Biden said, "Well, our inflation isn't as bad as Great Britain," and all I can think of is what my mother used to say. Well, if Tommy jumps off the Empire State Building, are you going to jump off?
Right.
Who cares about them?
Right. No,
The British are nice people and good allies, but I care about this country.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeffrey, it's really interesting. The issues you talked about, putting food on the table, having a safe place to live, educating your kids.
That's it.
That's the core values. Okay. And look, if the economy was booming, if we didn't have inflation, if the education wasn't a problem, maybe these other democratic ideas could take forth, but they're not, because the basics of stable prices, we don't have that. An economy that is headed towards recession, likely, crime everywhere, and people are not happy with the education their kids are getting. When you put that together, it just sort of dwarfs out the other items. And yeah, the far left wing radicals, they're going to say, if you support abortion, you support us. If you support climate, you support us. But the reality is that message is not resonating with particularly swing voters and independent voters.
Because really, if you support your family, vote for the Republicans.
Yeah, no question about it.
That's everybody's priority.
Let me ask you
in these times.
Let me ask you another sort of question about a representative not too far from you. What's the story on Bob Menendez under criminal investigation again? What's that all about?
It's New Jersey.
Right, of course.
I mean, I saw The Sopranos. He's been in office a long time.
Yeah, sure has.
And when people are in the office a long time, they tend to take advantage of it.
Yes.
And he has no filter because he's been in office for a long time. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, he was actually indicted and he beat the rap. Was not convicted. Now he's under criminal investigation again. I don't know.
On the play Guys and Dolls, there's a character, Big Julie, who brags, "I was arrested 27 times, not one conviction."
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that plays out coming right in, into the midterms here. Elon Musk taking over Twitter tomorrow, Jeffrey. Trump always talked about draining the swamp. Is Elon Musk going to be draining Twitter? A lot of left-wing radicals are fearful. It was really humorous to me that Musk came into Twitter headquarters carrying a sink. I mean, the old story, throw everything out but the kitchen sink. I mean, what kind of message was Musk sending to Twitter employees?
Well, he's already sent messages to Twitter employees. I mean, saying that he's going to get rid of 75% of the staff. And it's not because people might think he might be doing it to clean out the place from all the bias. He's doing it because it's not profitable. And I don't know if he's going to switch it around.
Well, we'll see.
I don't trust anybody in that business.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of people are very happy he's taking over. Twitter's a cesspool. It's made up of leftist radicals. It'll be good to see if he can turn it around because it is a public square. Nobody made a big stink when Jeff Bezos, a liberal, bought the Washington Post, and yet a lot of people were, trying to make hay out of Musk buying Twitter. We'll see how it plays out, but on a personal opinion, maybe he can clean up the cesspool that Twitter's become.
Well, and Facebook is even worse. And I have to tell you, this is the closest to election that I haven't been banned from Facebook. I'm not kidding. Every other election, 3 weeks before, I get a ban.
Facebook got a $23 million fine the other day for non-disclosure of violation of election laws. And Facebook's anyhow, what used to be, Facebook is part of Meta Platforms, Mark Zuckerberg. That stock's down, trading around $100 a share as we speak, down 24% today. It's down 80% this year. So anyhow, I'm not going to comment too much on Facebook.
Yeah, because if you do, you'll get banned.
Yeah. Hey, we got Jeffrey. We got just a couple more minutes to go on the show. Couple comments here. Economy grew 2.6% in Q3, but recession fears are still persistent. Are we going to be going?
You got to understand what's behind that growth. It was federal spending and inflation increase. That's what was behind the 2.6%.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. And a lot of people are fearful. Yeah, we grew at 2.6, but they think a recession's around the corner. And interesting thing was part of that growth happened right when the Fed was starting to raise interest rates. So the full impact of 3 75-point rate increases has not been really felt yet. The Fed is going to increase rates 75 basis points next week. Some economists and Democratic senators are saying enough's enough, particularly Sherrod Brown basically saying, hey, look, we don't need any more rate increases. It's going to put people out of work. Well, maybe so, but somehow this economy, you can't have a functioning economy with 8% inflation. So, I see some changes having to happen there.
Well, the big thing's going to happen next week. November 1st, the Israeli election.
Yes, let's talk about that for a minute here because we talked about it last week.
Well, you got to understand, you don't vote for a candidate in Israel. There are lists, and you vote for which list you want. And they put the people in order of how they get. So the first person in the list will be the prime minister.
Yep.
This week, things change, and it looks like Bibi will be able to form a coalition.
I hope so. I really support Netanyahu. I think he's an exceptional global leader, and he would be great for Israel.
But really. You got to understand, Bibi is more popular in the United States than he is in Israel.
Yes. Yep. I'm aware of that. Yep.
Same thing happened with Golda Meir.
Yep.
If you go to Israel, you'll see every prime minister has a street named after them, except for Golda. Okay. And even if Netanyahu wins, excuse me, he'll get like 30 to 35 seats. That's only a quarter of the country.
Yep. Well,
in Pennsylvania, they'd have to be a runoff.
I'm pulling for him. That's for certain. Got 1 minute left, Jeffrey, on our abbreviated piece today. Give me your predictions. Now we're 2 weeks out. Give me a call in the House. Give me a call in the Senate.
I think the House is going to be a bigger landslide than we've been saying. I'm not saying it's going to be 70 seats, but instead of 20 to 25, I'm saying maybe 30 to 35.
Yeah, my number's been 20. I'm going to stick with it for right now, but it is trending towards a 25, 30, maybe maybe 35 seat majority. How about the Senate, Jeffrey?
I still won't pull the trigger and say that the Republicans can win it back, but it's starting to look that way.
Yeah, it is. I was at 50-50, 51-49 Republican. I think what's going to happen by election night, Republicans will have 50 seats, Democrats and independents 49, and Herschel Walker will win the runoff, and he'll be the 51st. But if things are breaking, if Blake comes through in Arizona, Laxalt comes through in Nevada, Fetterman gets beat by Oz in Pennsylvania, we could have 53, 54 seats. So,
well, once you have 52, it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, the more the better, because then
right.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Jeffrey, got to cut it off there, but go ahead.
One thing, if the Republicans do get 52, I would like the Republican Party to allow me to tell Schumer he's no longer the leader.
That would be fantastic.
That would make me feel so good.
One other closing comment here. I even saw a thing from AMAC today, which is a conservative retirement group. They did some polling. Leora Levy's making some ground waves on Blumenthal in Connecticut, of all places. And we've got a shot of beating Patty Murray in Washington State. If we beat Patty,
isn't Blumenthal going over to Vietnam to fight?
Danang Dickey's going back there and he's going to recap it again. Hey, Jeffrey, next Thursday we'll lock down the final predictions because we'll be within days of election.
And I can tell you what happened in the Israeli elections because that's Monday.
Yep, we'll be all over it. Jeffrey, have a great weekend coming up. Thanks for your insight today. Folks, thank you for listening and viewing. Apologies this week. Couldn't make it into the studio. Got a couple issues.
Tell the truth, Mark. Mark didn't want me to feel bad that people were looking at me at the same time they were looking at him, and he's better looking than I am.
Well, on that, we'll sort of close it out there. But Jeffrey, thank you again. I love having you on. Thursdays are great. And folks, we'll keep an eye on everything. We'll cut through the propaganda, especially stuff coming from Democrats. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Jeffrey, thanks again.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, we'll see you, folks.